Stories of hope where hearts connect. Side effects may include joy, advocacy, and inclusion too. You're listening to The Inclusion Effect, sharing love, strength, and respect. Side effects may include joy, advocacy, and inclusion for me and you.
Hello and welcome to The Inclusion Effect. I'm Anna and I'm here to talk with guests and with you all about disability advocacy, inclusion, and the ups and downs of navigating a world that frankly isn't always built for the disability community. Today's guest here with me is Misty Coy Snyder. Hi, Misty.
Hey, how's it going, Anna?
Good. How are you today?
I'm good.
Thanks for being on here with me. I am so excited, as you saw on my social media.
Yes. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So can you share a little bit about you, your family, Jed?
Yeah. Yep. So I'm Misty and I'm a Cali girl moved to East Coast person. My background's in acting, and so I spent most of my youth in musical theater and training classically as an actor, and decided to book it to the East Coast after college, a few years after college, and I've been here ever since. And I currently live in New Jersey, just an hour outside of New York.
Wow.
With my husband and my two sons. I have Clay, who's 7, and Jed, who is 5 and has Down syndrome. And I am so just blessed and lucky to have a job in the advocacy world. I spent a great deal of time building my platform, Happiness is Down Syndrome, which was just a labor of love, a passion of mine for years that I loved so much and was just like pouring into. But now working for Rod's Heroes as the creative director, I am basically getting paid to do what I was doing for free before, which
is the dream.
Like, blows my mind. Because I have really, it's just kind of radical how my life has transformed and morphed and changed through having Jed, but really more so, kind of amazing how the gifts that I was forming and that I've been given are now being used in this way to advocate. I just never could have anticipated it or expected it or prepared for it. And yet I feel like I was made for this. Like, I feel like this is where I want to be. This is where I love to be. And having conversations like this is where my heart is. So
that's amazing. Yeah. I hear that from parents so often, and I will say I feel the same. My degree is in journalism. I worked in advertising and social media. I had to quit when Addie was born because, she was sick. And I feel like it gave me the perfect blabbermouth to be able to shout her worth as loud as I can. It set me up for success. So I completely get that. I love that. Okay.
I definitely see the spark in you, and
yes.
And it's beautiful when it stems from, like, you have this ability from your past life and yet you're using it for Addie. That's incredible.
Just like you. Yes. Yeah. I feel we're so lucky. We really are. Yes,
we are.
We know that. Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned a few things that I really want to talk to you about. One thing that I love that I found early in my journey, Addie's 3, so a little bit younger than Jed, is Happiness is Down syndrome. So you share diagnosis stories, you celebrate people with Down syndrome and their families and their loved ones, which is really important as well. I love that especially. And so I always love to hear all about these. So would you share your diagnosis story with Jed, first of all?
Yeah, for sure. So I had my little boy Clay in 2018, and we were pretty sure that we wanted to try for a second one. I'm an only child, and though I would have been happy for me just having one, I did not want my son to be an only child because I really wanted a sibling growing up. And so I wanted to try for a second. And so we did. And we unfortunately had a miscarriage, and I sort of thought, well, that that might be it. And I was pleasantly surprised um, just before Christmas in 2019 to see that I was pregnant again, and just, all the beautiful feels of just like, okay, this is happening. I'm going to have another baby. And I everything was great. We passed the point that we had with the miscarriage, where I heard the heartbeat and like things were looking good. And I decided I didn't get any testing done with my first son. But I decided I wanted to get testing done for this pregnancy because it felt so different than Clay had felt. And so I was convinced it was a girl. I was like, it must be a girl because if my pregnancy feels different, like I feel different. And so we got the prenatal testing, and I remember just for it seemed like a really unreasonable amount of time that I was not hearing the results back. And I was like logging into the portal, and I was like calling the OB, like, hey, I want to know, like, I want to get all those cute girly clothes. And I wasn't hearing. And the day is like marked in my brain forever. March 2020, which was 2 weeks before the
Right
entire world
before.
shut down.
Wow.
I was singing at a women's Bible study. I was singing, and I had the group, and that day I was very, very, very emotional, and I just chalked it up to like, I'm pregnant. I'm in my first trimester, and I was crying, and it was so strange. It was almost like my heart was like preparing itself maybe. So I went home. I was super tired. I laid down, I turned off my ringer, and I closed my eyes, and I was this close to falling asleep. And I just like bolted up in bed, looked at my phone, and saw OB, and answered it, picked it up, and almost instantaneously, though she didn't say it right away, I knew something was up. Like her voice was so cold and distant and almost scared. She was almost scared. I
Yeah.
could tell she was almost scared. And so she said, this was good, and this was good, and this was good. But unfortunately, I'm so sorry to say that the
Sorry.
fetus has a 9 of 10 chance of having trisomy 21. And I couldn't even, like, that was maybe the second or third time in my life I'd heard trisomy 21. So I was like, what, you mean like Down syndrome? And she said, yes, I'm so sorry. And I would say from those words, it just felt like I was like swimming underwater. Like it felt like like in a movie when everything just like,
Yeah.
I just felt every vital organ like start to shut down, and my heart was
Yeah.
pounding really fast. And luckily that day, my husband just so happened to be home. He normally would not have been, and my older son was sleeping. And I went down the stairs, and I literally felt like my legs were going to give way. Like I pretty much fell down the last few stairs, and just sobbing heap on the ground. And I'm like writing some number down that the doctor was giving me.
Yeah.
And my husband came over, and I think for a full 2 minutes, like I could not speak. I was sobbing. And I finally got the words out. They think the baby has Down syndrome. And they had told me at that point that they said the fetus is a boy. And so I said they think he has Down syndrome. And my husband like had like a pause, and then he just said, because I was saying, I can't do this, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And he said, we can do it, and we will do it. He's our baby, and we will love him. And I knew when he said that it was right, but I was so grieved. And I think everything that drives me today to do the work that I do is for the woman who feels like me at the bottom of the stairs. Like
Yeah.
I am doing the work for the Misty of 2020. Because I just thought, this is it. Like someone might as well have told me like I was going to die in 3 months.
Yeah.
Like I was so scared. I had no point of reference. And saying that now is really hard for me because
Yeah.
I'm sure you know it's like this radical love that I wouldn't change a fiber on Jed's head.
No, yeah.
And yet I was so scared in that moment. And so the drive I have to give of what I have is all for the Misty of 2020 and the women and men who feel the way that I felt, to give hope,
Yes,
because
yeah.
you don't know what you don't know, what you don't know. And it was life altering. And then 2 weeks later, the world shut down, and my pregnancy was filled with high risk appointments that my husband could not go to.
Yeah.
And we'd run out of masks and gloves and sanitizer, and it was just this warped alternate universe. The pregnancy was really tough.
That is just one thing on top of another. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you decide I'm going to advocate for this? Was it early on? Did this come about later?
Well,
Both.
it, uh, I would say once we talked to our genetic counselor, who absolutely was the total opposite of my doctor. She was amazing. Once that happened, and she gave me the DSDN number, and she gave me the DSDN. So I would say once I received the resources from my genetic counselor, getting like the DSDN information and joining a pregnancy group, and sort of hearing other people like me, that was the start of hope for me. But that radical change and the desire to advocate didn't come until Jed was born. The minute Jed was in my arms, I was so in love and so just, Misty, what on earth were you afraid of? Like, this is perfection in a bundle. And I was rocked by that. I was rocked by the contrast between how I felt at the bottom of the stairs and how I felt looking at him.
Yeah.
Like, and we have had a rough, I'm sure you could say the same, like we have had a rough go of things in many chapters since he's been born, but not anything was as hard as those prenatal days.
Yeah.
Nothing, because I did not know him. I didn't know him the way I know him now. And so anyway, everything I do now is, like I said, driven for that woman at the bottom of the stairs, and driven by my love and desire to just like spread it all around, the joy of Down syndrome and the beauty of disability. And yes, of course, there are very, very hard things.
Yeah.
But that does not take away the radical beauty,
I love that. Yeah. Because we actually had very, very similar prenatal diagnosis stories. And now something that I really love and hate to talk about, because I still feel guilty about it, is that I was worried up until birth that when they put Addie on my chest, I would feel differently than I did before. And it was like this fear I had that like ate at me the entire pregnancy. And they put her on my chest, and I felt just, it didn't matter that she had Down syndrome. I felt immediate love, like any mother does when they give birth and have their baby put on them. And then that was like my moment. So like I completely understand. It was like life altering, and like same as you felt like you don't ever want another mom to feel like that. I don't want another mom to spend their whole pregnancy thinking like, am I going to feel differently? Like, it was horrible. It gives me goosebumps now talking about it. It's just, it like definitely drives me. So I completely get it. Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So was happiness is Down syndrome? Was that right off the bat, you're like, got it, amazing? How did that come about?
I would say, so it was right around this time, 5 years ago in October, where I told you that my background's in musical theater, and there is a musical called You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And there's a song in it called Happiness. And I woke up one night, and I had just been feeding Jed, and I just could not get this song out of my head. And it's full of all these very simple joys. Happiness is two kinds of ice cream, pizza with sausage, climbing a tree. Happiness is morning and evening, daytime and nighttime too. For happiness is anyone and anything at all that's loved by you. And all I could think of was Jed. Like I was like, this song was written for Jed. And I just had this picture in my head. This is like the creative in me that's like, okay, there's moms that are holding their babies and feeding their babies and swinging their babies. And I'm going to get moms all over the country, and I'm going to make this video, and I'm going to raise money for it. And it like all happened in the middle of the night. And so I fundraised, and I recorded this song, and I had some other moms in the community record little bits of singing in it too. And then I put this video together, and then, Happiness is Down Syndrome, the Instagram page, emerged because I wanted, if somebody saw it on YouTube, I wanted there to be like a landing page, for people to come to. And so it started with just the stories of the moms who were in the video. And I knew that I had this very strong vision. I want this to be a page for the community, by the community. So I would send out like, will you share your story? Will you share your story? Will you share your story? I mean, that's like all I did for like 3 months after this video came out. And I gathered stories, and I had another friend in the community help me with reels. I knew nothing. I had no background in social media, and so I had a dear friend of mine who works for Ruby's Rainbow now. She helped me. She taught me everything I know, and she was like, okay, we're going to have themes, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And it just really took on a life of its own, that all of a sudden I started seeing, oh my gosh, these people in Ghana are following happiness, and these people in India are following happiness, and connections were being made. And we're talking the course of like from 2020 to now. I mean, what it's become now, it's literally been so blessed and fertile in the way that it like has grown itself. And a lot of it was boots on the ground, me working my tail off, like I said, working a ton to get that going. But now it's really driven by the community. It's like,
Yeah.
you collab with me, and and your video's on, and somebody else is on, and I post on there a lot still too. But it's really what I hoped it would be, which is a page for us to encourage one another, and for people to come on and be a fly on the wall and see, wow, those people, Anna looks pretty happy and dynamic and excited about her child. I wonder if I could ever be that way too, and
Yeah.
there's power in that.
Yeah. And then that's
For sure.
amazing. And when I got my prenatal diagnosis, they pointed me to DSDN as well. And then the DSDN pregnancy page pointed me to Happiness is Down Syndrome. So it was the week I found out that I found Happiness is Down Syndrome. And maybe 2023, so Addie was like 1, you guys shared my diagnosis story as well. And at that time, Addie hadn't even been able to pick you very long. It was this whole thing. And it was really a big part of, I'd say, my both diagnosis journey and my recovery from my medical trauma that I had. My daughter had like a cardiac arrest and a lot of stuff her first year of life. It was pretty crazy, but it was a big part of all of that. So you definitely you're doing what you set out to accomplish, for sure. And I know I'm not the only one too. I know lots of other people that it's been a big part of their journeys. It's really doing tangible, amazing work.
It blesses me so much to hear you say that, because there were very, very dark, long nights where I was like, what are you doing, Misty? Like, at the time Jed was born, I had a job. I had a part-time job, and I actually had to quit that job because Jed was in the hospital for infantile spasms. And I was like, I don't know what we're going to do. Like, I have to work. But I just had this feeling, Misty, stay faithful to this page, stay faithful to learning about social media and like doing your part in this advocacy work, and it's gonna pan out. I didn't know how, like I didn't have a plan, but like I knew, okay, it's gonna pan out. And last year I had formed an LLC, and I was doing like content creation for self advocates and working for Ruby's Rainbow, and like
Oh, I didn't
a
know
bit of
that.
here and a bit of there. Yeah. So
I met Liz and Ruby this weekend. They were a hoot. I loved
yes,
them.
yes. So I worked for her for a year and a half.
Wow.
Before Rod's Heroes, just doing all of the reels.
Yeah.
And so, I dabbled in that, and I just thought, okay, well, my thought that I'm going to be able to survive doing this is happening. And now working at Rod's Heroes and being able to sort of sprinkle in some happiness and some Rod's Heroes and my personal page, like all together, it's just kind of amazing. It's kind of
Yeah.
amazing. But thank
Okay.
you for saying that. It's so
Of course.
encouraging to know that, and that if it's made a difference in one family's life, it's worth it,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. I have lots of questions about like you and Jed and parenting, but that was the perfect segue, so I'll skip. So, Rod's Heroes,
Yeah.
unrelated to you, that is another page and nonprofit that my husband and I have followed. I think since Addie was like maybe younger than one, a very long time. And she's, very young still. My husband was a foster child. We always have had it in our plan to adopt. And then now we're like, maybe in the future we can do that. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? Not there yet. We're still in the early little toddler days, but we followed them for a long time too. We have the app and everything. So go ahead. I followed your little trip with them very closely on social media. So go ahead and tell me a little bit about that. Maybe if people don't know about Rod's Heroes, go ahead and tell them about that as well.
Yeah. So Rod's Heroes, our mission is to uncover the superpowers of individuals with Down syndrome. And we do that through connecting families and inspiring families to adopt. We do that through building community, and we do that through storytelling. So if you've seen any of the Made with Love, Rod's Heroes collaborations, the documentaries, shorts that we're doing of families all throughout the country and the world, we've done a few international, to be able to shine a light on those superpowers and the superpowers that we all possess simply by being uniquely ourselves. And it's funny because that you mentioned Armenia, because I have always greatly admired Brady Murray and his wife Andrea, who are the founders of Rod's Heroes. We got connected early on, like I want to say like 2021. He saw a reel of Jed and me and was like, this is so cool. And I followed him, he followed me. And then I think I was on his podcast. And then he asked me to go as a person in the community to Armenia and just document my time and just share on my platforms. And it was just the most transformative trip. I knew that it would be. I knew, like, when he asked me, like, this will change my life. But I didn't know how profoundly it would impact me. Seeing children, we saw children with various disabilities in the orphanage, but the ones with Down syndrome specifically, I remember looking into their eyes and just seeing Jed and seeing, like, almost just having this sort of like guilt of, my child is so cared for and loved and adored and celebrated for who he is, as he should be. And so should these children. Like, and we heard stories of mothers who, in the culture up until recently, it was legal for doctors to say, just give the baby to me, and we'll take you to an orphanage, like, or don't feed your baby, or, I mean, up until recently that was legal. And there has been some amazing work done to outlaw that, so that doctors will lose their license if they do that. But we talked to mothers and had a translator there who were able to some who lost their husbands and their families because they chose to keep their child with Down syndrome. like literally like they had the baby and they said, no, I don't want you taking the baby. I'm going to keep the baby, and lost their families because of that choice. And you just you can't not feel a tie, like a profound tie to that community and just our greater global community, and so I went and I was just so impacted by it and shared about it on my platform. And shortly thereafter, I had the opportunity to start working for them, and it was so beautifully fluid because I fell in love with with going there and with this idea of sharing the beauty of Down syndrome with those who might want to adopt. And then being able to, as we talked about earlier, being able to bring my own skill set to Rod's Heroes. And it's just really so amazing. It's so amazing. And so, yeah, I would definitely encourage anyone who listens to follow Rod's Heroes, and
Yes.
and also Extra Super Cooper, who is
Yes.
Brady and Andrea's son that they adopted from China. They have 11 children, but they have one biological son with Down syndrome named Nash, and then they adopted Cooper from China, who was left on a street corner, and they adopted 5 from an orphanage, and he now is incredible and aiming to throw the first pitch at every Major League Baseball stadium in the country. And he's done 12 so far.
Wow.
And he's just incredible. And so follow him too.
If I won the lottery, there would be signs, and it would be me adopting a dozen children with Down syndrome. That's what it would be. I just goals.
And I would
amazing.
join you. Please make that farm that
right, a little commune or something. Oh my gosh. Oh, my heart.
The happiness and joy that we would
and
have.
sass.
No, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love that. Okay. I'll ask one more professional question, and then I'll ask some questions about you and your babes. So I also saw you spoke at United Nations for World Down Syndrome Day. I watched your speech about that. Could you kind of talk about how that came up and about how that experience was and what you talked about, of course?
Yeah, for sure. So I was so beyond just flabbergasted how that happened. I mentioned happiness and how happiness is Down syndrome really opened up global connections. Just the mothers in other countries that reached out, that I mean, I never could have predicted that that's the direction it would go. And I didn't actually know this, but there was a mother, an incredible mother in Nigeria, named Tonye, and she has a daughter with Down syndrome named Simone, and she started the Simone Foundation, and she's doing remarkable work in Nigeria. And she was asked by the United Nations to speak for World Down Syndrome Day. It was like the day before World Down Syndrome Day, and they were looking for other speakers. And she said, "Do you follow Happiness is Down Syndrome?" And they were like, "No, we don't." And they said, she said, "Well, you need to. I've been following her for years, and if there's anyone, the theme was community and supports, which is like my heartbeat, And she said, if there's anyone who really is passionate about building community, it's Misty." And so they reached out to me. They found me on LinkedIn. I got this thing saying, "Do you want to speak at the United Nations?" And I was like, "What?
On LinkedIn?
What? Are you kidding me?" I was like, "How do you know who I am? What is this?" Like, I thought it was a scam. I was just
is
like,
this a phishing attempt? Yeah.
What is happening? And so they mentioned Tonye, and then I looked her up, and I was like, "Oh, I totally know her. We've spoken before."
Yeah.
Incredible. So I got to speak with Gianni and Gigi from Gigi's Playhouse. Got to speak with Tonye and all these incredible advocates and self-advocates on the panel. And it was just, I mean, when I say that I had this sort of out-of-body experience, I'm not being dramatic, though I am prone to drama. I am not being dramatic because I had this dream as a child, like, okay, my dream is Broadway to be on a stage in New York City doing what I love to do. And when I had my diagnosis for Jed, I thought all those dreams are over. Anything I ever loved is gone. I will be a sacrificial lamb. I will be a martyr for this child. These are literally the thoughts that went through my head.
Yeah.
Anything you've ever dreamed of is done. And when I sat up there on that panel, I just had this like aha light bulb moment. Like, I am sitting on a stage in New York City doing what I love. And it's not just for me. And I'm not saying I think there's great value in artistry. There is. But so much of it is like you're longing for that acclaim and that recognition. This isn't about that. This is about like really making bold moves for our community and for connecting people. And so I just got like electric waves that went through my body of just like, this is what I was dreaming of. This is what I was dreaming of, and I'm doing it. And it's yes, I have worked hard to be where I am, but like these things were given to me. These opportunities were given to me, and it blew my socks off. It was like a total turning point for me. And I think it led the path for me getting my publishing deal of my book that's coming out next year. And it just, it was really amazing. It was really
That's
amazing.
so amazing.
Yeah.
And what do Jed and Clay think about what their mommy does? Because I know I was telling my 10-year-old what I was getting on here to do. She thinks I'm TikTok famous already. I'm not. She loves to tell people that, though. Oh my gosh. And I was telling her who I was interviewing, and she was like, do I know her? Does she have a YouTube? And I was like, she doesn't play with slime or anything on YouTube for like ASMR, so like you probably wouldn't know her. But I showed her your Instagram, and she's like, "Oh, she's famous." I was like, "Okay." So she thinks that I'm talking to a celebrity. So in the Down syndrome community, I am. So like, big ups to you. My 10-year-old thinks you're cool. So what do they think about what you do?
Huge. Oh gosh, I don't think Jed, like, I think Jed is like, oh, here comes mom with her camera again. But Clay, my older son Clay, like he will say, I'll show him the videos I make, particularly when I make one of the two of them, and I've really gotten into asking him, like, are you okay with me posting this? You want me to share this? And
I do that too, yeah.
He's so proud. Like, he's just so proud. He's like, did you show that video? And did a lot of people like it? And we talk about that because in this land of likes and affirmation through, clicking a heart button, I want him to know what this is really about. That yes, this reel did really well. This got 3 million views, and wow, this is awesome. But let me tell you why that's important. That's important because somebody is seeing this video with either you and your brother or with Jed, living his best life, going out there and changing hearts and changing minds. And the more people that can see that, the more the stigma and the bias and the old archaic notions about Down syndrome are just going to be kaput. And that's why it matters. It's not so mommy can be famous, it's so that your brother and people, all of his buddies with him, and you and your friends and the people that come after you know the value in disability and difference. That is why this matters. So we have to talk about that, because I don't want to raise children who are like doing things for likes.
Yeah.
And it's such a fine line. It's such a slippery slope.
Yeah.
So we have to all stay grounded, right?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So going off of that, this is a little bit of a more somber question. I'm sure you've heard of this, and also I think I already know your answer because I think it's probably going to be similar to what mine would be. But are you familiar with the term glass sibling, glass child, all of that?
Yes.
I'm sure you guys are very mindful of this, as me and my husband are as well. How do you guys combat that, though? What do you guys do?
Clay, our older son, is a very dynamic young man, and people naturally gravitate to him. He doesn't have to try hard. He's just one of those kids. Like, I'm already seeing, like, he's 7 and like all the girls are like running to him, and I'm like, Lord have mercy. He is just like that kid in the room that has like a gravitational pull.
Yeah.
And I love that he doesn't know that. Like he's not like, yeah, everybody
Ego.
loves me. Like he doesn't know. And yet I make a conscious point of letting him know. Like I'll give you an example. They go to the same school. And so because we've had assemblies for Jed or for Down syndrome, that I've led, and Jed has come up to the front, and I've offered, Clay, do you want to come up too? And he'll say no. Everybody at the school knows Jed, and not everybody at the school will recognize Clay. And so we talk about that, because there was one time in particular that like a whole group of kids came up and were like, "This bump Jed, hey Jed," like surrounding him, and Clay was over off to the side with me. And he said, "Mom, I why don't people like run up to me like that?" And I said, honey, I don't know if you notice it, but people do that. Like your friends all flock to you. But in that moment, honey, they noticed from the assembly, like, that's Jed. And we want to say hi, and we want to make him feel included. And don't you want him to feel included too? He's like, yeah, I love my brother. And I said, all those kids are going to love you too. They just wanted to like make him feel included because he has an extra chromosome, and they want him to know he's great and fabulous. And isn't that a good thing? So we have those hard conversations where like it might seem to his precious 7-year-old brain that somehow he's like not as valued or something. We have those conversations. And I'm super intentional just tonight about every single week we have a just one-on-one. It's just Clay and me, or we'll go to the city and see a Broadway show, or we'll go on an outing. I try to be, and I am not perfect at this. And I would love to hear some of what you do too, because I feel like I always want to know, what could I do more to let Clay know that he is so precious and valued as a standalone, and not just as Jed's brother, and not just as an older brother, as a standalone, precious, beloved boy.
Yes.
And that takes effort, because as you and I know, we're consumed with lots of things being a parent in the disability community.
Yeah.
So I really try to be intentional about it as much as I can. What do you do?
Like I predicted, we have very similar approaches. So first of all, being intentional about it. I have posted before about worrying about this, and my comments are always filled with people saying the fact that you're worrying means that you're doing the right things.
Yeah.
My husband and I have been worried about this since Addie was in utero, about our kids going to be overshadowed. There's been too many times to count where Addie, for example, has been in the hospital, and so all of our attention is focused on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And our goal, for example, when Addie had her cardiac arrest when she was young, it coincided with the holidays. So she was in the hospital for Thanksgiving. She got out on Christmas Eve, actually. But she was there for all the holidays, and we were so stressed about how to make the holiday special. So we made sure that we were coming back on the weekends, and we would do gifts along the way throughout December instead of how we normally do our gifts. We did different things like that. We made sure our house was still decorated even though we weren't living there, we did things like that. So now that Addie's healthier, we want to make sure that, and she's getting older and she's understanding things too, we make sure that we have our one-on-one time with the kids. I've got 3 kids. So we make sure we have our one-on-one time with the kids, and then we make sure I do like, I'm forgetting the word, like, you are smart, you are kind, those kinds of things that each have their, thank you. I was thinking manifestation. I was like, that is wrong, Anna. Oh my God, it's been a long day. But yeah, affirmations, and each kid has their own, and then I have little songs for each of the kids too. I am not musically inclined. You obviously are, but each kid has their own little songs that we made up because I just like, I don't know. I think that I've got bars, I guess, for some reason. I don't. But so we just do little special things with each kid, and that's really just all you can hope for. And same as what you talk about with your son, we make sure they know Addie is getting this attention because she has something that is normally seen as a disadvantage. She has seen something. That's why we shout her worth. That's why we talk about it. That's why we go to the buddy walk we just went to. That's why mommy went to a retreat for mommies that all have kids with Down syndrome. And that doesn't mean that we aren't also happy that I'm Chelsea's mommy, and I'm Chelsea's stepmommy, actually, just for accuracy. Anyways, but
Yes.
and then Liam's mommy, and I'm also Addie's mommy, but then I'm also a Down syndrome mommy, you know? And these things are all
Yes.
important. I'm also a
Yeah.
soccer mommy for Chelsea, you know what I mean? I'm
I
also
love that.
a food allergy mommy for Liam. You know, all these different things that all make up our identities. And so we just make sure we talk about it, and we just make sure that we're so aware all the time.
I love that so much.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
don't you find, haven't there been times, have you encountered when even adults will be like, well, aren't you worried that
Yes.
Clay will feel like less than, or like you're only focusing on Jed, or like,
Yes.
you know, and I have the same conversation with adults. I say,
Yeah.
I really appreciate your concern with that, but this is it. This is a priority for me,
Yes.
that I will make intentional time for Clay, but Clay will not have an immediate shutdown of people the second he walks in the room. He
Yes.
doesn't have that.
Yes.
Jed, people immediately make assumptions based on his disability,
Yes.
and that's the difference.
Yep.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, yeah, this is again something else that I talk about quite a bit, but I think that people kind of forget that sometimes that people with disabilities are a minority group. It is a group that has
Yes.
historically been oppressed and has been marginalized and is at a
Yeah.
disadvantage. And it's not because they deserve it, just like any other minority group. It's not because they did anything wrong, it's because of how they were born. And that, especially because, you know, we are white, we are middle class,
Yes.
we're all these other things, especially because of that, my other kids do not face those same
Right.
challenges. And so it's just
Right.
something that we're extra aware of. And yeah, it sounds like the exact same for you.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to spread that
Yes.
to our, especially like you said, as like white middle class women,
Yes.
to those around us, to say, hey, like Clay might have some challenges, but one of them isn't going to be that he has almond shaped eyes. Like, second, we don't have kids with an invisible disability. The
Yes.
second they walk into a room, people know.
Yep.
And so that is important, not
Yes.
just for our kids to know, but for everyone in our lives to know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Okay. Amazing. Yep. Okay. So how, this total topic change. We have to talk about this forever.
I love
but
it.
I'll move on. So how do you go about advocating in your day-to-day life for Jed? So like when you go to IEP meetings, when you're at the grocery store and someone stares, when you are going to a doctor appointment, you know, the day-to-day stuff that's not big, and not worrying about saving the children in Armenia, because you are an angel and you're doing amazing work, but you are also just a mom.
Yeah, no, I love that question, because I will be honest, it is harder for me. And I think a lot of people would be surprised when I say this. It is much harder for me in real time to be that fierce advocate, because everyone's personality is different. My personality is more, I can be bold and outspoken, but I also innately want people around me to like me and feel happy and feel like I'm a team player. And so I would say the biggest struggle I have in maybe something like an IEP meeting is that I sometimes will sort of downshift to kind of like keep the peace in the room. And actually, I gotta say, especially hearing so many of the stories that I've heard, I have been so incredibly like rocked by how great our team is at Jed's school. There have only been a few times where I really felt like, and it's mostly been like surrounding inclusion, like I want to ask for this again. I'm going to ask for this again. I'm going to ask for this again. It's been in stages for him. So when he first started preschool, it was like full like ABA special ed. And I was saying, hey guys, I want him in a typical class. I see value in all that stuff for sure. I mean, Jed had a lot of learning to do in the beginning, but I said, I want him pushing in for centers into these like general ed classes. And slowly but surely, each time we met, I kept saying the same thing and saying, I like that, but I want more. I like that, but I want more.
Good.
I like that, but I want more. And finally, by the end of preschool for the last semester, he was fully in a general ed class. And some people might view that as like a loss. Like I was sort of, too tame about it. what I was doing was very intentional. I am building a relationship with this team. I am saying I value your expertise and I also have something to say. And so each time it was like we were building trust with one another. And now he's in kindergarten and he's 90% included. And he's rocking it out. And all of them are like, yes, Misty, like you are on the money. And so there's a part of me that's like, I could have been more aggressive.
Yeah.
I could have been more like, no, the second we walk in, this is how it's going to be. But you know what? We're learning too. You and I, Anna, are learning as we go. I don't have my training in all of this. I just know what I want for him. And so I really do think there's grace in being an advocate in real time, is that you do have to kind of trust sometimes that other people might know certain things that you don't. And you also have to trust yourself. Like, I do know this about my son and I'm going to say it. And so I would say advocating in real time for me looks like not wimping out, but also doing it my way, like doing it the Misty way, which is not going to be as probably maybe loud or aggressive as somebody else, or maybe might be more aggressive than somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, we all have to find our own way,
Yeah.
And in terms of like staring, I would say that really bothers me. And I have to be like, okay, there's so many things. And sort of an adage that I go by is, most of the time when somebody does something or says something, it's really not about me. It's about them and their own insecurities. You don't know what that person has been through. Maybe that person had someone with a disability in their life that passed away and they missed them and they're staring and they're not really thinking about it. Maybe that mom that's staring like chose not to continue their pregnancy, and there, who knows? Like, you just don't know what somebody's carrying. And so while I'm protective of myself and my son, I also like to extend grace because I don't know why they're staring. Like, I don't excuse somebody having a prolonged glance. And yet I know there have been times that I've probably been like, wow, look at that. And probably look too long. Right. And so
Absolutely.
I try to have a little bit of grace. And if somebody says something that sort of offends me and I have a knee jerk, I try instead to educate and go, well, actually, that's a good question. Let me tell you about that, and I've done that successfully a few times and not so successfully other times. And again, that's just life, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're learning too. Like you said, we don't have a playbook. We don't.
Nope.
We're doing this for the first time too.
On the fly.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I definitely have successfully found that happy medium a few times and have under and overreacted a few times as well. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think the hardest for me is if kids say something a little rude, like on a playground or something. I think that's the hardest for me because they're kids. And so I want to be like, it's not really my job to, in this split second, educate them. And so there's kind of like this inner torment of like, what do I do? And you're kind of in shock. Like, did you really just say that?
Yes. And you're like, okay, if they're saying that, their parents probably aren't teaching them at home.
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah, it's hard.
I feel like you kind of have to let your heart and the moment guide you, because sometimes it's not the right time. Like, there was one time that a kid said something kind of mean. I can't even remember what it was, but they were literally running in circles around this playground and field. And what am I going to do? Like, chase after them? Like,
of course not.
It just wasn't the time, you know?
It's hard. It's hard.
It is hard.
Okay. After a stressful day where a kid was kind of mean at the park, what do you do to take care of yourself? So, as I know, every disability parent hates this question. Yes, we are so good at taking care of our children. I know. I was so close to skipping out of the Down Syndrome Diagnosis Network's retreat this year because I was like, there's too much going on. Addie had a really hard August. She was in the hospital quite a bit with norovirus. It was just so much going on. My husband forced me to go, and I'm so glad I did.
Did you love it?
Oh, amazing. I Can't say enough great things. Yes, it's
Yeah.
amazing. But
Yeah, I went in DC in
oh yeah, that's so
2022.
close to you. Yeah, I did Vegas last year, same reason. I was like, it's so close. It'd be silly not
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, I just know sometimes it's so hard to take care of ourselves. So what do you do to take care of yourself?
Honestly, I would say that up until maybe I want to say like kind of maybe the first year I started to try and do things and sort of petered out. And then because I dove so headfirst into my advocacy and into sort of helping other moms, I would say this is probably the biggest area that I really dropped the ball um, for for me. And I think what's hard about it is that, and I'm sure you seem, just in talking to you, you seem similar, that it fuels you to do the work that you're doing. So you
Yes.
think, oh, I'm fueled by this. I'm energized by this. This is good for me. This is for me. Right. And that's true. But so many other things can fall by the wayside in the wake of that passion. And so that is what has happened to me. I would say that Jed just turned 5 in
Hmm.
August. And I read this article that said that after you have a baby, it can take some people up to 5 years to recalibrate in tons of ways, physically, spiritually, emotionally, all the things. And that is me. I read that article and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, Jed just turned 5. And I finally feel like I'm seeing Misty again. Like, not, I've always been Misty, but like seeing like the Misty before Jed, the pieces
Yeah.
that I want to retain and like hold on to, I'm seeing glimpses of that person again. And I think so much of that is I've recently been trying to well, I haven't been trying to, I've been doing it. In the whole month of September, I decided I'm getting up and I'm gonna make my bed every morning. I'm going to do a little Devo and journal for 5 to 10 minutes right after I make my bed, and then I'm going on a walk by
Good for
myself
you.
for a mile and a half, and then I come back, and then I'm like all about the kids and get them to school, and then I work, and then I do the same thing at night. I do a walk at night, and I will say that just those two bookends of commitment to myself has made a huge difference for me because it's doable, it's predictable, and it's lovely. It is so lovely to be by yourself for a half hour, come back and be like, wow, I just walked 5,000 steps. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it just feels good. So that, I would say, I'd love to like treat myself to things like, sometimes I'll go to a movie by myself. Sometimes I'll um, go to a nice meal by myself. I like going to meet with a friend for coffee. I like going to shows, Broadway shows. I need to tap into my passions that don't have anything to do with the work that I do. And that's hard for me because I'm
Yeah.
like all in. So
Yes.
I'm an all or nothing person. So it's hard for me to tap into the other things, but it's really important. It's really important.
So important. So often overlooked and so important. I definitely feel as Addie's getting older, she's 3.5-ish right now. Like, I feel like as she's getting older, I'm getting better and better about it. So I definitely see that 5 year thing. Like, it's like slowly, like, I'm like, oh, I can take a moment to myself. Oh, the world's not going to end. She's not going to stop breathing because I stepped away for a minute. It's hard. So,
It
yeah.
is really hard, but it's empowering when you do it. Like, didn't you feel so
Yes.
much better after you went to the
Always
DA?
feel better
You're like,
afterwards.
I
Oh,
did it,
yes, every
you
single
know?
time. Oh my gosh. Okay. And this is a big question. How has being a disability parent, a Down syndrome mom, whatever you want to say, shaped your outlook on life? It seems like you were a very positive person with big ambitions before, and it seems like that's all stayed the same. What would you say hasn't stayed the same? What has changed because of
Oh,
that?
well, before Jed, I would have been, it's really hard for me to admit this, but I would have been the person that if I saw someone with an intellectual disability, I probably would have like avoided them at all costs. Not because I thought something was wrong with them, but because I felt a deep-seated shame of like, I don't know how to talk to them.
Yeah.
What if I don't understand them? What if I say the wrong thing? What if it was very much rooted in this feeling of you don't know how to handle that. So steer clear, which came up in surround sound when I got the diagnosis. Like, you're the wrong one for this, Misty. You're not equipped to do this. You don't know anything about this. And so I was that person who probably would have like slyly like walked to the other side of the street to avoid, because I didn't know what to say and I didn't know what to do and I didn't want to feel insecure.
Yeah.
And now, like, I will run across fields to like talk to somebody, because these are my people. Like, you are my people. Like, I just
Yes.
I feel like, and I say this a lot, it's so cheesy, but again, it's another like musical theater thing, but I feel like I found this secret garden that like you're walking along this like busy city street. I'm a city girl, so I'm like going to my thing and like here's my destination, and
Yeah.
then I stumble upon this garden that I didn't even know was there, and it looks kind of thorny and overgrown, but I like walk inside and I see like flowers and lush greenery and vines and all these things that if I had kept going full speed ahead, I would have missed. That's what I feel like I'm in right now. I feel like I'm in this hidden secret treasure trove of a garden. And these are my people, and this is my life's work. This is my life's work. And I was so far from that before. Like, I was a good, decent, energetic, passionate person, but I was not in this at all. So that's been the biggest difference.
Yeah.
What about
I
you?
love that. Yeah. I think, I mean, again, I'm not copying you, I swear. I think that we're just soul sisters, but mine is very similar. Like, again, yes, I was very ambitious. I was outgoing. I was ready to, conquer the world, all these things, but it was self-centered, or like family-centered also, but
Yes.
self-centered and selfish. And always fast-paced and always like on top of things and go, go, go. And I had Addie, and I had to take a deep look at myself, because similar to you, I didn't know anybody with Down syndrome. I didn't know people with disabilities. I just didn't, it wasn't like on my radar.
Yeah.
And just like you said, it was like a shame type thing. And that's really hard to reckon with. And shout out to my therapist. She's done great work. I'm doing much better with it all now, but it was really difficult. And now I'm like, this is where I'm meant to be. I see somebody with Down syndrome and I'm like, hey, extra chromosome, like across the room. I'm like, oh, we're kindred souls. Like, if I don't have Addie with me, I'm like, look at my phone. Like, I've got Addie, I'm just like, yes, I'm like so passionate about it. And life moves slower, but like in the sweetest way. Like, it's okay that today, for instance, literally today, Addie's therapists were here doing a home visit. She started preschool a couple weeks ago. It's going really well. And so they were here to check in. Yeah, I'm so nervous about it, but she's kicking butt. She's doing great. Anyways, and for the first time ever, they were doing all these like tests and stuff, and she did the 3-finger grasp with her pen, and I cried. I was like, oh my gosh, like that's amazing. And that's such a little thing that I don't even think I don't know when my older two did that. I don't know. I didn't notice. And now I'm like, this is the biggest deal ever. And I think, going back to what I said before, I celebrate my other kids bigger too, because I celebrate Addie bigger, which I think is good for everybody. But yeah, just that was a lot of word vomit. I just feel so lucky to live this life. Oh, really, I do.
Lucky.
Okay.
We are so lucky.
We are the lucky few for sure. Yeah. Oh, I just love our kids. Okay. I could ramble all day. I'll ask one last question, which is, what is the best thing about Jed? Like, if you walked into a room and you had to tell them one thing about Jed, and I know there's a million, he is amazing. I know I could talk about Addie all night long, but what is one thing that you think everybody just needs to know, because he's such a superstar?
Oh, Jed is just light. He's light personified. He's like, you walk into a a dark room and he opens his mouth and smiles and he brings light. He's just a light bringer. He's a bringer of
Yeah.
joy, and he just, I watch him go up to people that I think, oh my gosh, that person is gonna turn their back to him and reject him. Like people, the grumpiest looking, like
Yeah.
curmudgeons, and he'll walk up to them like he doesn't. I don't care if you're grumpy. I'm gonna love on you, and every single time it's like magic. And my friend described it as, it's not magic, it's divine. Like he has a divine presence of like just being able to like soften the hardness. And
Yeah.
I'm just blown away by him. I'm blown away by him.
That's amazing. I
Yeah,
love it. Our kids are
yeah,
amazing. Oh my gosh. Thank you
they
for
are.
sharing with me, Misty. Like I said, I could talk to you forever. We're best friends now, if you didn't know.
And girl,
Um, I'm across the country from you, but we're besties. Let's see. I know you've got a ton to promote. So what do you want to promote?
oh gosh, I mean, happiness is Down syndrome. My personal page is Misty Coy Snyder, on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all the things. And then I'm the creative director for Rod's Heroes, which you can follow on all those platforms as well.
Yes.
Um, uh, I have on my Instagram page, you can watch the UN, and uh, I have a book coming out in August of 2026. Lord help me, I have some writing to do. But that the hope for that book is that it will be a guidebook of sorts for people who get a diagnosis. Just like, here's some stories, here's some resources, here's some tips, here's some, like literally like a what to expect when you're expecting, but for the Down syndrome community. And it's a heavy lift because it's always changing. Like we're learning and growing as we go. But the beauty of our community is there is so much to be learned from all these other organizations and amazing
Yes.
advocates. And so I'm really trying to pull from a lot of sweet sources for that. So that'll be out in August of 2026. And I have my podcast, Bold Voices, Soft Hearts, which is on YouTube and anywhere you podcast. And I think that probably covers it.
Amazing. Okay, well, if you guys have
Yeah.
made it this far, please follow my podcast, leave me 5 stars, and share this with a friend. Follow Misty's podcast also. Follow along on social media. My TikTok is at The Inclusion Effect. I also have an Instagram and Facebook pages I literally made today because I got bullied by some of my older friends who don't know how to use Instagram and TikTok. So now I have a Facebook page as well. They're all at The Inclusion Effect. And thank you so much to everyone for helping me build this community of amazing, passionate advocates. Misty, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Anna.